All right. Welcome back. Let's get into it. Always matter, never mind. Always mind, never matter. Connecting the dots between the outer physical world of the observable and the inner mental world of thought has always presented quite a challenge to scientists and philosophers. To many of us, even today, the mind appears to have little or no measurable effects on the world of matter. Although we'd probably agree that the world of matter creates consequences affecting our minds, how can our minds possibly produce any physical changes affecting the solid things in our lives? Mind and matter appear to be separate. That is, unless there's a shift in understanding about the way physical solid things actually exist. Okay. Well, there has been such a shift, and to trace its beginning, we don't have to go back very far. For much of what historians considered modern times, humanity believed that the nature of the universe was orderly and thus predictable and explainable. In retrospect, however, one of the theories ultimately did more harm than good. Descartes was a proponent of the mechanistic model of the universe, a view that the universe is controlled by predictable laws. In a way, he's not wrong, but the predictable laws are that we're in charge. Again, when it came to human thought, he faced a real challenge. The human mind possessed too many variables to neatly fit into any laws. Since he couldn't unify his understanding of the physical world with that of the mind, but he had to account for the presence of both. So he played a nifty mind game, pun intended. Pun intended. He said that the mind was not subject to the laws of the objective physical world, so it was completely outside the bounds of scientific inquiry. The study of matter was the jurisdiction of science. Always matter, never mind. Whereas the mind was God's instrument, so the study of it fell to religion, which is always mind, never matter. Essentially, Descartes, or however you say his name, started a belief system that imposed a duality between the concepts of mind and matter. For centuries, that division stood as the accepted understanding of the nature of reality. Helping to perpetuate his beliefs were the experiments and theories of Sir Isaac Newton. The English mathematician and scientist not only solidified the concept of the universe as a machine, but he produced a set of laws stating that human beings could precisely determine, calculate, and predict the orderly ways in which the physical world would operate. Hey, hashtag real quick, insert a moment. Whenever we should question everything, we should question everything that has been told to us as that it is so and it must be this way. Because if we all just lived through that thing that happened in 2020, we know that we were lied to. So if we were lied to about that, we could have been lied to about a lot of things. So freaking check things out, don't take everything as gospel, literally. Okay? Okay. Um, according to the classical Newtonian physics model, all things were considered solid. For example, energy could be explained as a force to move objects or to change the physical state of matter. But as you will see, energy is much more than an outside force exerted on material things. Energy is the very fabric of all things material, and it is responsive to the mind. Ooh, how cool. By extension, the work of those two dudes established a mindset that if reality operated on mechanistic, like mechanics kind of principles, then humanity had little influence on outcomes. All of reality was predetermined. Given that outlook, is it any wonder that human beings struggled with the idea that their actions mattered, let alone entertain the notion that their thoughts mattered, or that free will played any part in the grand scheme of things? Don't many of us still labor today, subconsciously or consciously, under the assumption that we humans are often little more than victims? Considering that these cherished beliefs held sway for centuries, it took some revolutionary thought to counter these two dudes. By the way, this reminds me of when Yeshua, the one they call Jesus, was like, if you even think about, like if you even like lust like after a woman that's cheating on your wife, if you even think about it. I remember reading that as a young girl and being like, what? Like, But if nobody knew, like, then why does it matter? And it's because that's the vibe that you are living on. You are literally not a faithful person. You're not loyal to your wife at that point. And like he's like, what we're going for here is like authenticity. And because if you're just saying one thing with your mouth, but you're like being something else in your mind, who you're being is actually gonna dictate your life way more than just what you're saying. Whew. Okay. Einstein, not just rocking the boat, but rocking the universe. What a genius. What a badass. About 200 years after Newton, Albert Einstein produced his famous equation E equals mc squared, demonstrating that energy and matter are so fundamentally related that they are one and the same. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God, and he spoke it into being with the sound waves that are also light, sound and light, made of the same essence of the DNA of the Creator. Wind, that's why it's okay. Okay. Essentially, his work showed that matter and energy are completely interchangeable. Essentially, his work showed that matter and energy are completely interchangeable. This directly contradicted Newton and Descartes and ushered in a new understanding of how the universe functions. Einstein didn't single-handedly crumble our previous view of the nature of reality, but he did undermine its foundation. And that eventually led to the collapse of some of our narrow, rigid ways of thinking. His theory set off an exploration of the puzzling behavior of light. Scientists then observed that light sometimes behaves like a wave when it bends around a corner, and at other times it behaves like a particle. How could light be both a wave and a particle? According to the outlook of Descartes and Newton, it couldn't. A phenomenon that had to be either one or the other. Quickly, it became clear that the dualistic previous model was flawed at the most basic level of all, the subatomic model, or part of subatomic level. And subatomic refers to the parts of matter energy, which are electrons, protons, neutrons, and so on, that make up the atoms, which are the building blocks of all things physical and energetic, right? The most fundamental components of our so-called physical world are both waves, energy, and particles, physical matter, depending on the mind of the observer. Observer effect, whoop, 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 changes everything. We'll come back to that. And this is how the world works. So we had to go look at its tiniest components. Thus, out of these particular experiments, a new field of science was born called quantum physics. My love. Catch me in the next one. Be blessed, be well, be free.